Hello, everyone. Welcome to our show today. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Aidan. I'm head of customer success and community at Camo. We're here today with an exciting announcement, followed by a conversation about the future of video and augmented reality. Camo is the app that lets you use your smartphone as a high-quality webcam to look great on video. Our guests today are Aidan Fitpatrick, Chris Pirillo, Mike Porter, and Dr. Paul Carver. Why don't we go around the room and have everyone introduce themselves? Please give us your name and a little bit about what you do. We'll go Aidan, Chris, Mike, and then Paul.
Hi, Aidan. Thank you. I'm Aidan Fitpatrick. I'm CEO of Reincubate, and I've been building Camo with my incredibly talented colleagues.
I'm Chris Pirillo. I'm a geek or a nerd, and I've been doing video online since before video was possible to do easily online, at least going back to the year 1996.
Nice. 1996. Wow.
I'm Michael Porter. I'm a biochemist turned software developer, and I do AR for fun. That's about it.
And I'm Paul Carver. I'm head of engineering for apps here at Reincubate. That means I lead the teams on our macOS, iOS, Android, and Windows apps.
Thank you, guys. It's so nice of y'all to join me on this live stream today. And thank you to everyone tuning in today. We're so excited that y'all are here. You're in for an interesting conversation and the chance to win some cool prizes. We will be selecting a couple of the best audience questions for a short Q&A towards the end of the show. And those selected will be taking home a pair of Snap spectacles and a lifetime Camo license. So pay attention to the conversation, ask some good questions, and you'll get the chance to win. Let's start with the announcement. In partnership with Snap, Camo 1.5 is launching today with a very exciting new feature, the ability to apply AR lenses directly to your video within Camo Studio. This update is shipping with a handful of lenses ranging from fun ones to more functional ones. You'll be able to apply these lenses directly to your video meetings, live streams, video on demand, anywhere you use Camo. But instead of me talking about it, Aidan, why don't you show us some of these lenses and tell us a little bit about this integration?
Sure thing. Thank you, Aidan. Well, yeah, so Camo 1.5 is out today. We pushed it out just a little while before the stream. So if you're running Camo and you've updated it, the lenses should start to appear from you. So the idea is it's got a handful of lenses for a range of different tools for making calls, presentations, and streams easier, for making you easier to understand as a presenter, for adding a range of techniques to make it easier to communicate, or indeed to reduce distractions in the background. And we've also thrown in a couple of fun ones in there now. The AR functionality is free for everyone to use, whether they're a paying Camo user or whether they've just got the free edition. And we've designed it in such a way that it will run on pretty much any computer. The processing is offloaded to your mobile device, so your computer will stay fast and cool while you're doing it.
Yeah, and if I could just chime in there, Aidan, I think it's important to note that one thing we're always interested in is improving performance. You'd be amazed at how excited engineers get about just perfectly optimizing their code so it runs as fast as efficient as possible. And obviously AR being a new technology, it's, you need quite a powerful machine to run AR at its best. But with Camo, it's really important that it can run on any old Mac or PC, and it doesn't really impact your Mac while you're running it. So what we do with Camo is we make all the heavy lifting for the AR takes place on the phone. And since an iPhone is a fantastically powerful machine, it means it's really easy to use Camo on pretty much any Mac or PC, while the heavy lifting for effects like AR take place on the phone.
Thank you, Paul. And we've been throwing around the term AR a little bit, so let's get right into the conversation. So AR, or augmented reality, is something that we're starting to see more and more often, from in gaming, like the rise of Pokemon Go, to e-commerce, where sites let you try on glasses before you buy them, or test out furniture in your living room before actually buying it. AR has been a steadily rising presence in technology, especially over the last 5 to 7 years. So Aidan, as a video industry expert, what got you interested in exploring AR technology, and why now with Snap?
Sure. Well, video is something we've been exploring for a little while. There's a whole lot of stuff going on that we're keen to explore. But you probably saw that last year we started off on our AR journey with portrait mode. We shipped portrait mode in Camo 1.2, and that's the effect that you can see now that's sort of blurring my background. It's helping me as a presenter stand out a little bit from this image by emulating what's called bokeh. And we did that using Apple's incredible AR kit technology. And so what we're doing now is going deeper in partnership with Snap to really just kind of explore a range of different things that we think we can do with AR. So we're not tremendously interested in fakery or kind of virtualizing things, but we are interested in taking a scene and augmenting it and helping users look better. And of course, the A in AR stands for augment, so that kind of fits very well for us. It's been a lot of fun working with Snap. We've been able to engage with some of the incredibly talented people in the Lens creator community, and Mike is one of them, and I think we're going to be talking with him on this call. But also it gives us access to things like Camera Kit, which is part of the technology that's going to allow us to bring these filters and effects to Android in the near future. And it's just been really cool working with the team at Snap and having close access to the people who are behind the product.
That's awesome. Thank you. Chris, as someone that's very well immersed in the tech space, what have been some of your experiences with seeing or hearing about how people are interested in utilizing AR, maybe from your audience or just fellow creators that you know?
Well, I think the idea has always excited me because you can take an otherwise two-dimensional video and make something pop or just make a change that is not natural, but that's part of the excitement. I mean, we use cameras all the time as creators, but to be able to add a layer, especially in a live video production, that's how I use cameras primarily. I hate editing video, but I love doing it live. To be able to better immerse a viewer or someone who's experiencing something into a certain situation, it helps tell the story. It helps push the narrative along, or it gives you a chance to play. One example, would be like, being able to, search for a term. You could do this a while ago. You could search for Grogu on Google and then hold up your camera, and then Grogu, the baby Yoda, actually appears in meat space, seemingly through the screen. And that was fun. And it was just like, wow, I can interact. You could do that with animals too. So it's a great chance to explore your environment, but get a close-up look at something that otherwise you couldn't do. And yes, it's augmented, but it's immersive. And I think I love seeing the application of AR because every time I see someone using AR, I'm like, I want to try that.
I love the word immersive. That's a great word to apply to AR. So Chris, you've been exploring AR for over 10 years now, and Mike, you work in AR. Can you guys tell us a little bit about how you guys have seen the AR landscape evolve over the last decade?
Yeah, so I think most people's first introduction to AR is something that they don't actually realize. If you ever watch an American football game, they have some lines painted on the field to show like where they need to get the ball. That's technically augmented reality. They're adding something to reality. So that's some pretty like practical use cases like that. And then in the last few years, kind of Snap came along. Facebook and Instagram have their own filters. And it started out as just like, you can puke a rainbow, you can have some dog ears. It's just really a novelty. But now Snap has really been pushing what you can do. They have real-time voice recognition. They can track your whole body. You can add machine learning. There's a creator I know that actually has a melanoma detection model running in the Snap Lens, which it might not be practical for like a medical professional because of all the approvals, but the power of what you can do is really increasing. And I think we're just starting to kind of see what we can do with it beyond just the novelty of it.
Sort of like tip of the iceberg type thing. Yeah,
exactly.
And Chris, I know you sent me a video of you exploring AR from, what was it, 2009 maybe?
It's been a while. I have had quite the experience with AR, but I think what's changed is that you used to have it's not clunky anymore. It's just integrated, and I was trying it at a time where smartphones just really weren't a thing, or at least in the days where you had to print out or have like what they would call a marker, if I remember correctly, and Michael or Mike may be able to correct me if I'm wrong, and a webcam on a laptop or a computer, and it would just be it would be immersive, but it'd be like this is still kind of clunky. And now you can just hold up a camera, any camera really, like a smartphone or a tablet, and then it's alive. So and you don't have to worry, you don't have to fuss with all the things that you used to have to do to get that the output or the outcome. And so that again, it's all about immersiveness. And when technology interrupts that immersiveness, you can see the promise and potential of it, but it's not quite there. AR is getting to the point where it is quite there because we all have our smartphones on us at all times, and at some point, another kind of lens or apparatus to take augmented reality to the next level, because we're not done with AR, I don't think.
Yeah, and I think Mike brought up a great point when he said that a lot of the times now when people see or experience AR, they don't even necessarily notice it at first or make the cognitive recognition that it's augmented reality. Love the football lines on the football field is a great example. So Mike, I know that you run an AR bootcamp. So based on your knowledge of AR, how does that affect or drive your process for creating lenses? Like, why do you create what you create? What makes for a good lens?
Yeah, so I think my main goal when I'm creating a lens is I want to usually just put a smile on someone's face. Most of what I do, I think, is more fun. I'm not too much on the practical side. So I'm always trying to think of what would be fun. I have 2 little kids, and they like to play around with the face filters. So that's a big inspiration a lot. What's something that's
cool.
family friendly, something that a kid can use, something easy, but more than just like putting like a picture on your face, something a little more immersive that reacts to you.
So like, this is kind of like a 2-part question. Like, I wanted to ask, like, what was like one of the favorite lenses that you've done, and how did you expect that one to be one of the ones that became the most popular, or do you feel like the ones that did become super popular, like, were they your favorites, or did they kind of take you by surprise as which ones got popularized?
There is a good mix, actually.
Okay.
Early on, when I was creating lenses, I created the twerking alien.
Yes.
So just a green alien dancing.
Big fan of the twerking alien.
So it was all over TikTok. And when I created that, I was just learning the software. I didn't animate it myself. I didn't make the model myself. I was just learning how the software worked. Published it. And then in the space of a week, I was a nobody AR creator to now everyone's like, who is this guy? And I never expected that would happen. When I got 10,000 views, I was overjoyed. And now I'm over 500 million views on that. So I did not expect that to become popular. And then I have some lenses where I think they'll do great and they don't. Some of them I think they'll do great and they do. A lot of it comes down to what is kind of going on in the world and what people are wanting to do. As a quick example, I made a Daft Punk lens a few years ago. Wasn't very popular. Then a few months ago, they announced that the band was splitting up and it got a few million views all of a sudden. So
wow.
Sometimes you just have to wait for the right moment.
Kind of depends on what's going on in the world. And like, I feel like things that go viral are kind of unpredictable. We never know when or what is going to pop off on the internet these days.
Yeah.
So Dr. Carver, as someone that works behind the scenes to make cool things like this happen, what challenges did you overcome to get AR into Camo, and how easy or how not easy was it?
Yeah, thanks, Aidan. So we've really enjoyed working with the Snap Camera Kit technology, and that's given us a really helpful leg up in getting going with AR, and it's made some problems we'd have faced just completely disappear for us, which has been really nice to work with. And it's really nice to use that in combination with the fantastic camera technology that Apple's iPhones already give us. However, that kind of the combination of all these different technologies, including adding in our own functionality and our own features to Camo, sometimes add a little bit of complexity and some interesting technical challenges. And also, one thing that's really important to us when working with Camo, and not just with AR, is that it's really user-friendly. In Camo, we give users a lot of advanced options to control their video, but we really don't want that to feel like a complex or a daunting thing to use. We don't want users to feel overwhelmed. And so we work really hard to make sure that our functionality is quite straightforward to use. And I think you'd be quite amazed by how much thought can go into the design of a single button or menu, or just how large or complicated our discussions with the team can get just by working out just how to organize a button or a set of menus to make it straightforward for users. And in terms of AR, it's important to us that we don't just throw features into the app for the sake of it, and we don't just throw every lens we can think of into the app. Instead, we're quite careful in curating our choice of lenses and to be mindful of the scenarios in which Camo can be used.
And that is a great segue into my next question for Aidan. How did we decide on the lenses that we wanted to drop with this first release and the type of lenses? How do they help?
How did we decide? Indeed. Well, look, I'm going to swap to a couple of effects whilst I talk. So yeah, I mean, we are very focused on how people use video for communication, and that might be meetings, that might be streaming. And kind of thinking through some of the issues around discomfort when streaming or being present on calls for a while, or indeed Zoom fatigue, which you've probably heard of. So we've grouped these new lenses into kind of 4 categories. So of course I'll kick off with the novelty ones first, because they're fun, and we put these filters in to really kind of give people an idea what you can do with the technology, and a bit of a handle on just what can be delivered with AR. And what may be still to come. So this is my mother-in-law's cat, Fred, who is on my head, on the aptly named Fred on your head lens. And if you shake him around, his tail waggles, so he's a bit of fun. But we've got a couple of other novelty lenses just to sort of give you a bit of a feel for what is capable, and what some of the things that we can do are. This one works best if you hold your hands up like this while you're doing it. But more seriously, we have got 3 other categories. So we're building on our portrait mode, where we work to mute the presenter's background, and there are a couple of iterations of that, just to make it a little bit clearer, who's talking, where the presenter is, and to kind of pull the background down. Not everyone is happy showing off their scene in a presentation. We've got a lot more to explore here. We then go into some accessibility lenses where we're doing some stuff that sort of help the presenter communicate emotion and sentiment a little more clearly, and just to kind of reduce the volume of signals in the video, just to make it really kind of simple. And we do something similar with hands as well, where we give you the opportunity to be able to convey these things just in a really kind of simple way, which might be quite a powerful thing that you could use for reactions. We've got the lovely face follow, which a bunch of people have asked for effects like this, where it's helping the video focus on you as the speaker, and indeed kind of hinting towards what you're looking at as you talk. And then we've got a bunch which are essentially used to try and reduce presenter discomfort while they're presenting. So invisible is obviously masking out quite a lot of me. We have a beauty filter. We have a lovely little 8-bit filter which works quite nicely. It's one of my favorite ones. And then we've got a real kind of fidelity reducer in the form of Sketch, which is taking the presenter back to a much simpler representation. And I think there's something really interesting here in allowing streamers and users of video online to explore their identity and their sense of identity in both their personal and their professional communication. I'm really keen that we do that, as well as just making it easier to live with video and to work with it on a kind of ongoing basis day to day.
I think the hand raise emoji one is definitely a little more standout than the raising of the hand in the Zoom option. So love the thought process of making the lenses as functional as they are fun. For the next question, we're sort of just go around the room. I'm just going to toss this out here and you guys can sort of go back and forth on it. how would you guys respond to people that say things or ask questions like AR looks and sounds cool, but I'm not really sure how that applies to me in my everyday life?
I'll jump in and hopefully you can hear me okay. I
Yes.
don't know if, okay. I will project as much as I possibly can. Try it. Like, experiment. It's like, you know, like, I
Love
wanted
that.
Aidan to start singing Take On Me like 2 seconds ago. I was disappointed he didn't go into Take On. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. You know, if it doesn't apply to you, maybe you haven't figured out where it fits. And if you don't know where it fits, that means you just haven't tried. You know, I use it for one thing. Another person uses it for yet another, and you never know what it's going to do until you put it in that situation and attempt it. And because it's there and it's built in, or AR is, well, now everywhere, just try it. I did. But what? How did you try it? Well, I tried it 10 years ago. Well, that's your problem. Have you tried it in this scenario? You know, it's not, every situation is not going to work for everybody, but by not trying it and writing it off, I think you're missing out on some tremendous opportunities. Education for your kids. Or you know, taking a live video scene and kicking it up a notch.
Love that.
Sorry, I'm a little passionate. It's, you know.
No, that's awesome. That is the better answer than I could have thought of, and I wrote these questions. So anyone else want to jump in here on this one?
I think Chris has nailed it.
Yeah, he kind of did. He kind of did. That is fine, because we will shift over a little bit to think about how it is applied in business and marketing. So there's been a huge shift for businesses to utilize video marketing in the last 10 years. And Snap recently opened up a studio to create AR ads. And Amazon recently opened up a hair salon that utilizes AR to let people try on different hair colors and preview their haircuts before getting them cut. So how can businesses use AR in combination with video, other than the ones that I just gave, obviously?
Well, I guess I'd be remiss not to be talking about brand experiences. I know Mike's got quite a bit of experience in that space, but I think that's the way that a lot of businesses are at the moment, kind of touching consumers, whether that's through kind of sponsorships or endorsements, where they're getting AR features and functionality appearing in collaborations and tie-ins with their project, which, you know, a lot of that is on social media at the moment. But I think there's a lot more coming. You know, businesses are battling to get eyeballs and to get attention. And I think it's very easy to kind of write off AR as a novelty. You know, you put a cat on your face, looks kind of funny, right? But there's a lot more to it than that. You know, you can look at that novelty stuff, I think, first and foremost as a means of gaining attention. And one of the things that we found presets when we first shipped them were useful for was kind of gaining attention. So when people are putting content on LinkedIn or on their blog or on other networks, actually just making yourself appear in a way that's slightly different is a great way to get those clicks and a great way to get that attention. And I think, you know, AR not only covers that, but it also gets into much more serious tools. And I hope that what we've achieved in shipping this first set of lenses is really kind of given people something to think about in terms of where we can be going with this and how this functionality can be applied to do more and more. You know, I maybe I sound a bit like a broken record, but I think there's a lot to do around reducing fatigue, to make it easier for consumers to absorb information from video, to make it easier for people to produce video. And of course, that's why we've just shipped overlays 2 weeks ago in Camo 1.4. It's why we shipped recording. And there's going to be a whole lot more. I think there are a lot of kind of blurred lines around AR, where you have some elements of AR and you have some other elements of some other techniques and technologies. But I mean, Mike, I don't know if you're able to kind of put a bit more color around the brand collab side, because I'm certainly interested to kind of hear some stories of that.
Yeah. So if we take like a t-shirt, for example, and the brand, put like the brand logo on it, like Nike, you can buy a Nike t-shirt. If you're talking about AR, the next logical step would just be like put your logo in the filter, but people don't want to send that to their friends. I mean, there are some exceptions. There's a really popular Vogue filter on Snapchat that kind of turns into like the Vogue cover.
Oh yeah,
But
I've seen that one.
Yeah, for the most part, people don't want to just like slap your logo on their forehead. So you have to get a little more creative. You have to remember that you want someone to use it. They aren't your brand ambassador for like sharing your logo,
Right.
but you want to give them an experience that's fun that they like to share. There's a agency, I think they're in the Netherlands, called Go Spooky. And I'm really jealous of what they've just done, but they figured out how to take any arbitrary 3D object and track it. And so they have an example with like a Coke can, and as they move the Coke can, there's like something tracked to it, or you can put it on the table and like rotate it, and you have like a volume dial. They have an example like a Lego car. And so you build your Lego set, you pull out Snapchat, and now you can picture your car that you built driving down a Lego road, or you can put wings on it.
That's pretty cool.
And so I think that's going to be kind of like more the next step. It's not just like putting your logo like on someone's face. It's more take a product and let someone augment it. It's augmented reality. So I think we'll see a lot more moving that direction.
Yeah, Chris, given your expertise in tech combined with your creativity, do you have thoughts on how businesses should be using AR? Like, do you have any ideas for some head of marketing to steal out there?
Tell a story. I mean, give people a chance to play, and that's really, I think Mike spoke to this pretty well. No one really, unless it's Star Wars, I don't really want to wear your logo on my forehead. If it's Star Wars, yes, I would wear the logo on my forehead. Give them a chance to play. Give them a chance to touch and feel and as much as they possibly can. With whatever your brand happens to be, it's got to be interesting. Like it's got to be in many ways a trilateral win, not just a unilateral win, right? Just because you've done it doesn't mean it's going to work. But if you put it out there and someone can do something with it, they're excited to do something with it, and then of course they're excited to share. So you can get excitement across all three: the entity that creates whatever it happens to be, the person who uses it, and then the person who experiences it, if it's something that the person who uses it even cares to share. So you've got to think about trilateral wins when it comes to this stuff.
Love that.
And that's kind of the end game with that. And I would say that to businesses or just creators in general, anybody really, like who's putting something out there and hoping that it's going to pick up. Now, granted, in an educational environment, it would just be a bilateral win, right? You got the lesson,
Sure.
You got the thing that you want to get across, but you got to make sure that it resonates specifically with your students or your audience, right?
Thank you. So I guess you guys kind of already answered this next question that I had planned, which was, do we think that AR is for all businesses moving forward? I will shift it a little bit to say, I'm going to ask you guys basically for a prediction. How long do you guys think it'll take for basically, let's say, at least 90% of businesses to somehow be using AR in their marketing? Do we think more like 3 to 5 years or closer to 10?
Can I pick 2025?
2025. How many years is that? 4?
Coming up soon. It's coming up soon.
I think, and I'm going to jump in again, I don't want to dominate the conversation because I am a talker. We're waiting for the next thing, and I don't know what that next thing is going to be, because right now we've got, in our hands, we've got these smartphones, and they can do, everyone's got one on them right now. Like I almost guarantee it, or they're using it in some way, or they will today. And so the proliferation of the technology isn't the linchpin. It's not the thing that's holding back AR. It's got to be the next level of some device that either is being imagined right now or is yet to be imagined to take that AR and make it a must-have, rather than this is a really nice thing to do, but its applications are limited. Because right now people are using filters across social media, like it exists, and it's not enough of a tipping point for businesses to look at it, as it from a practical way or from a marketing standpoint. We're waiting, and I don't know what it's going to be. I'm excited for it. I'm interested, but I think it's waiting for that next device to be released, and that could be another 10 years out.
All right, so we have a bit of varying timelines here. Mike, do you have a prediction for us?
I'm gonna
no right or wrong
lean
answer, so
a little more towards 10 years.
okay.
Just because right now, with augmented reality, you can do it through like Snapchat, you can do it through TikTok, you can do it through Instagram, Facebook. And so the big issue is if you want to reach all your users, you need to recreate the same thing multiple times.
Right.
And you can also do AR through your web browser, but it's not as good as through an app. It doesn't have the same access. I know like web browsers are starting to work more towards AR and VR support, but it kind of requires buy-in from everybody. And then you're going to need, I guess, the tools to still be built out for everything. So I think we're off to a good start, but I think we still need a little while to build out all the tools, make sure it's not too difficult to build the same experience across all platforms.
That's a great point, especially because I feel like a lot of younger people feel very like social media, these apps that we mentioned have always been a part of their lives, but for people who are fully formed adults already right now, a lot of them don't necessarily think of, Snapchat or even Instagram as something that they use on a daily basis. So that kind of tracks, I think. We got to wait for that TikTok generation to be in a position to make business decisions, I think, when we'll start seeing it a lot more.
There's a couple of different ways it's going to appear, aren't there? I mean, Snap they had 293 daily active users. I think there's 310 million daily actives now. You see it on Instagram, you see it on TikTok. So you're dealing with more than 500 million users. And I think that is more towards the novelty and social side of the spectrum, although there's still some very serious kind of use cases for brands. But I think we're also going to be seeing it used in kind of non-social communication from brands. I think we'll see it in how they use video and how they do promotion on other channels. But of course, Chris makes a good point about there is this next big thing coming, and that's kind of the wild card. Just as people talk about the Apple car, they say, is there this Apple AR headset coming? What are we going to see coming from Google? Is that going to be, another version of Google Glass, another iteration? We've just seen Google's integration or Snap's integration with the Pixel 6 announced only the other day. There are a series of different factors at play here, and it's pretty hard to predict, I think.
Speaking of predictions, this question sort of goes along the same lines, but we were talking about business and marketing before. Let's bring the conversation to video. Camo is an app that facilitates great video. So how do we think that AR is going to move video specifically forward, whether that's streaming, Chris, or video creation for video on demand for YouTube? Like, how do we think that AR is going to change the current video landscape?
I'll jump in again because you mentioned my
Sure.
name. That's all the excuse I need. I've got a couple of, I can even show a couple of examples, but not necessarily in the video context, but I'd be remiss if I didn't throw that in. I stream on Twitch every night. I just chat basically. And I don't game on Twitch. I'm probably the only one who doesn't. But when you're dealing with an audience, you want to do everything you possibly can to drive the engagement. You want to make it feel like they have a say in how that broadcast or that show actually happens.
Absolutely.
And so, yes. And so, I always think of things. I can't stand candy corn. I think it's disgusting. I don't know why it still exists. And so in order to kind of spur things on with the community, I said, all right, if you cheer, this is a way that people can tip creators on Twitch. If you cheer 100 bits, which is basically $1, I'll eat one candy corn. And it happened so frequently that the next day I said, all right, now it's 200 because that was a lot of candy corn. And they haven't stopped. So I've got to do anything I possibly can to drive that engagement. So to add like the Fred on the head, I'm not a fan of cats. So I can say, all right, for 500 channel redemption points, that's the points you accrue by watching, you can redeem it, and then I'll have to have the cat on my head for 5 minutes. And so they have a chance to deal, like, or I want to pixelate you for 5 minutes, or I want to make you invisible for 10, or set this filter until someone else does something else. So you get community interactiveness through AR in live video, certainly, and that could play very well in an educational context as well as a live streaming environment where you're just doing everything you can to get them to do something that they know you may not want to do, or that is just that much different from you just sitting on a camera and talking.
By the way, I loved that candy corn bit that you did. Also, with the licorice, also was a great little fun thing for the audience. They definitely loved it. Anyone else want to chime in on this? How AR is going to move video forward? Sure, Mike.
Yeah. So we're not there yet, but I think one important piece would be some sort of like live connection between. Let's say like a video game and then Camo or Snap Camera, where if you're streaming, and you can already add like a filter, like put yourself in character. But let's say your game can now send information to Camo, and Camo can update the filter that's on you. So if you're like taking damage, your appearance is changing. If you win, maybe there's like a celebration that's automatic. So those connections aren't there yet, but I think that'd be a really great use case for it. Or even like sports, just pulling like live information. If you're all like remotely watching a game or something, you can have your team gear on. You can have celebrations go off if your team scores. So I think once we have those data connections, it's going to be, I think the use case will be a lot more clear to lots of people.
Nice. And just a quick little reminder that we'll be selecting a couple of the best audience questions for a mini Q&A at the end of the show. We're just going to pick 2. So please drop them in the comments. We're going to have our guests, Chris and Mike, select ones that they want to answer or they want us to answer. And the prizes are a lifetime license for Camo and a pair of these awesome Snap spectacles. So that leads us into our What's Next segment. Aidan, what is next in AR with Camo?
Sure thing. Well, as I said, we're not doing this primarily for novelty, right? We're looking to explore how we can help people communicate. We are going to be building out more lenses, and there's a couple of ways that we're going to be doing that. So, first and foremost, we're certainly going to be looking very closely at what users have to share with us and the feedback we get on this. But we're going to be exploring some lens unlocks and some seasonal drops. We might be making some lenses available around certain events. But ultimately, just as with watermarks, we went from having a small list of them to a gallery, we are ultimately going to open a lens gallery and likely a lens store where we're essentially working with lens creators to help them monetize the lenses that they're creating and to build more sophisticated and powerful AR experiences. So you could just say, hey, Reincubate, get us an amazing, huge, deep set of lenses and kind of put them in here. But one of the challenges that lens creators have at the moment is there isn't an easy way to monetize their work. So we talked a bit about brand collaborations, and that sort of is the primary way. If you can get a brand to engage with you and kind of build out an experience, that can be quite lucrative. But there aren't, there's not a huge network of lens creators with the talent and connections that Mike has. For instance, he is one of a relative few elite lens creators, which is why we're so happy to work with you, Mike. But we'd like to be kind of building out ways that are slightly easier to kind of score than a big old brand endorsement deal, whereby lens creators are able to kind of sell or monetize their work through what we're doing. And I think that will encourage and give us the opportunity to ensure that we can go a little bit deeper and more sophisticated with our lenses than you typically see in social media. I think there is this tendency to see lenses as being novelty or as being more simplistic. But I think when you start thinking about serious educational presentational tools, we need to go a bit deeper, and we need to do a bit more there. And so I'm super excited to kind of be exploring that, and ultimately to be shipping this gallery, as I said. One of the other things we've got coming up for AR at Camo is we're going to be I'm going to be talking at Snap's Lens Fest event in early December, and that hopefully is going to play a role in broadening the network of lens creators that we're working with, and will hopefully be a catalyst in putting our gallery together.
Thank you, Aidan. This next question is for Chris, and you already kind of teased us a little bit with it, but I wanted to ask you how you were planning to use AR in the content you create, if there were particular parts of your streams that would lend themselves especially well towards using AR.
Yeah, it's all about interactivity.
Gotcha.
Or, in terms of the streams, right? And so I would get excited to see something else that I think would titillate the audience, or to get them to do something that they couldn't do otherwise. It becomes fun, and that's certainly valid. But can I show another example? Is it okay?
Sure. Yeah,
okay.
Please do.
So there's a website, and I must disclose, at some point in the past has been a sponsor, but fangs.com. I'm into 3D printing, and so you can go over to fangs.com. And you could look at any model that you could normally 3D print. Anybody could do this from mobile and actually download the model in augmented reality. So it's loading right now. It may take a while depending on the connection and the size of the model, etc. But if you watch Squid Game, and let's face it, I think everybody at this point has, it'll load the model right there on the app. There's no installation required, but in the environment, you can actually place the model that someone else has designed, minutes later on a desk, to see how it's going to look in, here we go, view in your space. Let's give access. And then it gets the scene, you get an idea, and there's the girl.
Oh, wow.
So I can't, the controls are a little wonky right now, but sorry, it's upper there. Hang on. It's a model. There's her hand. And so, you could shrink it. You could, I don't know the controls as well as, there we go. I can turn her around there. But you can actually see it in real time. Or, cool. Even going over to Google and searching for tiger, you could do the same thing. You could bring an actual tiger, not a real tiger, but you can bring a tiger into your environment. And so it's good for education as well. So the more that you figure out where these things go, the more it starts to make sense for you. So like I said, keep exploring.
And on that same point, what is on your AR wish list?
More.
What is just more in general, more options across the board?
Immersiveness, where it makes sense. It makes sense in the 3D printing construct, because I want to see what that model is going to look like, when it's printed. It makes sense in the educational construct, because it makes sense, when you're learning about something in school, and instead of talking about it on a worksheet or wow, I can actually see it here in front of me, and I can't pet it, I can't touch it, but I can hear it, and I can see it, I can get up closer than I could in real life. So it's more. It works now, and it can work better the more it's used, and the more applications are I guess invented.
Great point. For Mike, what are you working on next or now? Do you have anything that you want to share with us about what you're working on lately with AR?
Yeah, so two areas I'm really getting into are kind of AR fashion, and then the voice recognition. And just because I think they're fun areas, but also with the voice recognition, it helps untether you from your phone. So you don't need to be holding it, touching it. You can actually set it down. You can track your whole body, use your voice to kind of tell the lens what to do. I think those are really fun areas, because then, because right now AR, you have to view it through your phone. But I think kind of with these advances, now it's a little more you can experience. You don't have to worry about tapping and whatnot. You're a little more in charge of it.
So it makes it more immersive, because you don't have to have your phone as right in front of your face.
Yeah.
As a shroud, essentially.
yeah, you can take a step back or just start recording someone, tell them what to say, and then show them the result after. Fun little surprise.
That's really cool. I haven't heard about any of that yet, so I really appreciate you sharing that with us.
Yeah.
And that brings us to our question and answer segment. Let's go with, since Mike was just talking, Chris, did you have a question that you chose for our audience for us to answer, from our audience for us to answer?
Yeah, I'm going to go to the education. The professor, Clayton Slaviero. As a professor, I'm always concerned about how to improve students' learning process, especially during remote classes, which, by the way, my daughter, a first grader, is doing like full time, which is great. We did it intentionally. How do you think AR and Camo could help us in this end? And I go back to, I mean, I don't know if you've got to answer the Camo question, but I'm going to give you an example. I'm just going to give you an example. If you go to Google and you search for tiger, and I think this works for iOS or Android, it'll ask you right up front. It'll say, hey, do you want to meet a life-size Bengal tiger close up? View in 3D. It loads the model. You can manipulate it, or again, view in your space. And this is on a Google search. So, I mean, I don't know what you teach, but like, again, you can have the, oh, sorry, the tiger's out of shot there. But yeah, you can bring the tiger in. You can actually hear it growling, I think. Can you hear it purring?
Yeah, wow.
So you can hear it, you can see it, you can, you know, move it around, you can get up, you can walk up closer to it. I'm somewhat limited here, but you know, I don't know what you teach, but I can almost guarantee this team can figure out how to make it work for you. And I'm not on the team. I'm not on the ring at all. They just asked me to come and talk about it. I'm like, yeah.
No, we definitely are adding that to our to-do list. Sorry, Paul. Do we have any, what's the next question we wanted to go to?
I mean,
or if Aidan wanted to add a point.
Maybe I can build on that. Yeah, I think, I mean, there's so much that we can do for education, and, you know, I have a bunch of ideas and we have a bunch of questions that we're trying to answer and things that we're going to explore on that front. But I would say it's important to talk to us and to tell us what you'd like to see. But I think with a lot of use of video now, there seems to be quite a hard disconnect between either it's you on video or it's a screen share. And I think it would be pretty neat to be able to kind of hold up a object and present it and show that off, or indeed to kind of disassemble it. And there are a few kind of enterprisey products where they're helping kind of remote technicians repair complicated machinery, where some person can assist someone else with AR. But I think there's an educational version of that. I think that would be pretty interesting. I also think there's a bunch of stuff that's much simpler, where one can kind of feed in automatic Chiron or kind of streaming data onto a screen that may be about the subject that you're presenting on. I mean, you know, we've done some of this with the overlays that we've got in Camo, where, you know, I can kind of put on shot on iPhone, or I can put a logo on it, or I can put something that occludes half of the screen so that you could have, you know, true presenter notes as you're talking, which might just summarize the topic. But I do think there's going to be a lot of blurring between kind of AR and overlays as we explore this.
I just thought of an amazing feature, but I'm not gonna share it in public.
Okay, because I saw you looking pensive, and I wasn't sure if you were gonna jump in there.
I got a good feature for you guys.
Okay.
AR.
You can share it to us secretly later, then.
He's going to ask for a fee, consulting fee.
And Mike, did you find an audience question that you think that we should answer for them?
Yeah, I see one from Chris Black Studio, and they're asking about lenses that do practical enhancements, like removing lens reflections, shading someone's glasses to sunglasses, color corrections. So I can't say what Camo's plans are, but these are, at least the color corrections, those are probably the most common type of lens you'll find on Snapchat. So they're usually pretty simple, but it's a great way to kind of like change the moods. You can brighten things, make things darker, accent certain colors. The other enhancements, they're possible. They're a little trickier. Snap's really good at like kind of turning into a cartoon and stuff. But they have a lens that just came out that adds a smile to your face, but it's a really exaggerated kind of creepy smile. So it's not, I'd say, practical enhancement, but it's very easily modified into a more practical enhancement. So far, Snap's the only one that's been able to pull them off to that sort of fidelity, but I think in the near future, it'll be pretty commonplace to kind of choose the little enhancements you want like that.
Can I ask how hard it would be to do the one that removes lens reflections? Is part of the reason why I don't wear glasses more often is because I always get that reflection, and we have two other glasses wearers. So I for one would definitely be looking forward to that one. Is that one a really high difficulty one? You think that's going to take a while, or
it's a little more on the difficulty side, just because it would use machine learning. So you're kind of at the whims of how much data you have, how well that work. I think ultimately, at least right now, it kind of give you creepy looking eyes. But yeah, might be funny. Might just be too creepy.
one of these days.
Yeah.
But we spent a bit of time on the beauty lens, didn't we?
Yeah.
And one of the things we were quite careful to do, or that Mike was quite careful to do, was to not make it too kind of over the top. Because I think when people think about beauty lenses, often you end up with brilliantly white teeth and completely smooth skin. So the beauty lens that you see in Camo really tones that down. And, you know,
Subtle,
I think,
yeah.
Yeah, I think the comment from Chris Black's studio, you know, really makes the point. There are many other ways and many other features and techniques that we can use in a sophisticated beauty lens. And I think if we create the right structure for lens creators to be able to build out that functionality, I think we're going to start to see lenses that have this sort of power.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. So as we wrap the conversation, I'm going to go around the room and ask everyone for one major point that you want the audience today to take away with them moving forward. It can be AR related, video related, or if you just have general life advice you want to give. Let's start with Aidan because he's my boss.
That seems like a fair system. I can't complain about that. Okay, yeah. So, I mean, a closing point is, please talk to us. You know, we hear a lot from Camo users. We'd love to hear even more. You know, we're not a faceless team. You know, Aidan runs our support and success team. If you write in, you're quite likely to hear from her or from Lucian or from Hans or from others on the team. And, you know, Paul and I also deal with tickets. We also get involved. You know, if you interact with us on social, and we incubate on everything on social, or if you email us on support@reincubate.com, we will see what you say. It's not going into a black hole. It's not getting ignored. And, you know, we tend not publicly to talk too much in detail about our roadmap, but that definitely doesn't mean that it isn't driven by your feedback. And it really is. It's almost entirely based on what we have got from you guys as users, and where there are requests for some things that, you know, I think there are some requests for say Chroma Keying in the chat earlier. We hear loud and clear, and, you know, we want to do Chroma Keying and we want to ship that very well. There are a dozen apps out there that do Chroma Keying badly or green screen badly, and we don't want to be another app that does bad green screen. We're not going to do it. So we want to ship Chroma Keying. We're going to absolutely nail it, but we're not going to ship it until we've got something amazing. So where you see something that's like, hey, why haven't those guys shipped that yet? It's because we just we want to get it right before we do. But we've got a whole bunch of stuff to come, and we would absolutely love all of us here to see your feedback and to build that into what we're doing with the product. Thank you.
Chris or Mike, feel free to jump in.
I'll just say it really quickly. I gave at least 2 practical examples that you can do right now on your smartphone. So I say play, just try, just
love that.
Just like you wouldn't do before. You have a chance to do it right now. Stop making excuses. I mean, I'm not saying that you're making excuses. I'm just saying, like, you have no excuse now. I've given you at least 2, and now we've got a third way that you can integrate AR thanks to the software update into your normal Camo workflow.
Thank you, Chris. Mike?
If you have an idea for something and it's not out there, find someone that makes AR filters and ask them. I love hearing user requests, and I'll quite often actually just make a lens that someone requested, no strings attached, no fee. Sometimes it takes me a while because I have to fit it in, but yeah, we love hearing what people want to use AR for. So just let us know and we'll probably build it.
Love that. Paul?
Yeah, thanks, Eden. I guess my final point is that with Camo, you don't need like a super powerful machine to make the most of AR features. You don't need to go out and buy yourself an M1 Max, although you're very welcome to. It's a fantastic machine, but you could run Camo on your ancient Windows 7 business machine, and you'll still have a fantastic experience. So hopefully you'll give it a shot.
Well, thank you guys so much. To enter our giveaway that we're also running for a chance to win one of our prizes, including an iPhone 13, more lifetime Camo licenses, and more Snap spectacles. Show us a screenshot of how Camo makes you look great on video, tag us at Reincubate, and use the hashtag Camo giveaway. All entries will be entered into a random draw to win. I would like to thank everyone on this panel so much today for joining us. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you so much, Paul and Aidan. And thank you so much to the audience. I'm so excited that you guys joined us. We'll be doing more live streams moving forward to chat about Camo and video. So keep an eye out from updates from us.
And who are our 2 winners, Eden?
Oh, our 2 winners are Clayton Slaviero. I'm so sorry if I said your name wrong. And Chris Black Studio. Please send us your email addresses in the chat so we are able to get in contact with you to send you some Snap spectacles and a Camo license. Thank you, everyone, today. Come see us again next time.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thank you.